Normally, I would be like, no, I'm above this, but no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm sitting at Leo Fender's workbench in his chair at GNL exactly the way that he left it the last time he was in this room.
Welcome to the Kahler podcast. This time we are going to talk about something that I am so fortunate to have experienced. Going to GNL, I asked if there was any way that I could see Leo Fender's last workshop, which they have preserved exactly the way that Leo left it the last day he was there. How you doing today, Gary?
I'm doing good.
The bench is Fender Seafoam Green.
Yeah, well, what it is they got samples. And
right.
This one wasn't apparently quite right. So Leo said, well, we got all these samples. So since he had only one eye, he wanted to paint top so there's better visibility.
Right.
So they got that prototype color. Man.
So you have a pretty good history with Leo Fender. You got a lot of things you've done with the man, right?
But the most important thing I've done is very unusual.
Okay, well, tell us about it.
My little nowhere factory when I started out was just about a couple of miles from Fender. I was very close to the Fender outfit. I started dealing with McLaren, actually.
Right.
And Denny Handa, who was the sales manager at that time, because Leo Fender had sold it to CBS. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Fender. The first time I met him, it was just social.
Okay.
At the time I'm starting out, I got about 3,000 square feet. I have an old screw machine and two Bridgeport emails, and I'm making stuff myself. At that point in time, I don't think I'd even met Bill yet, Bill Bryan. But I said, oh, my God, this is going to take a lot of money. I already had a second and a third on my house. We were making enough money to eat and have shelter and drive a really shitty car. If I could just get $250,000, I could produce millions of dollars worth of stuff. So I applied for an SBA loan from the United States government, which is a small business loan. So I apply at an outfit called Valencia Bank. A man by the name of Hobday is the president of the bank. And so I made out my application, and he says, I'll tell you what, we do know somebody in the music business. So what I'll do is come out to your place, see what the hell you got, and we'll do that.
He give away a case of tuna to all the employees.
A case of tuna?
Yeah, because he owned a little bit of a...
What, like Starkist or something like it?
No, this is like somewhere in Newport Beach, but it was a tuna canning factory. So he had some investment in it.
Oh.
But you had to bring the cans back.
You had to bring the cans back.
That's the deal.
That is thrifty.
Yeah, because they're parts fit.
A week later, after I had the application, I'm looking out my window, and up the sidewalk in front of my place, here comes Gene Hobday, and for God's sakes, Leo Fender. With his monocles. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, my God, Leo Fender. And so they came in, and I did a presentation to both of them and so on and so forth. And I'll never forget Mr. Fender putting down a cup his different monocles, and he would look at that. And it was silence for about 4 or 5 minutes. And he actually said, I really don't know how this works, but looks nice. And that's about all he had to say about it, but he was friendly and et cetera, et cetera. And Mr. Hobday, the president of the bank, was sitting on the other side of the table, and he and I was looking at each other. Well, that didn't sound too damn good.
I got to know. Patsy Cline?
Yeah.
I love Patsy Cline.
I
love Patsy Cline. My God.
And so I thought that meeting was less than productive. In any case, I guess I'm not going to get that damn loan. He calls me back in 2 weeks, the president of the bank. Well, your loan's approved and you got your money, so good luck. Then we had to fill out more papers, but within a month, I had the money I needed. I just have to say that my biggest supporter at the bank was Leo Fender.
Right.
He was on the board of directors, and my God, what a wonderful thing that was. I'm indebted to Mr. Fender from the very beginning when there was nothing.
Picture the man himself in this room. I mean, geez, there's the bench right there.
That was the very beginning. So my hat's off to Leo on that.
John told me the same exact story.
I hold him very high esteem because the man invented things and co-invented things, but then also processed it and brought it to market.
Leo Fender is a huge influence on me. He invented the fretted bass.
That's
You
right.
know, there was no fretted bass before. That's why he named it the precision bass.
Yep.
It's so amazing to me. Here's the guy who put frets on a bass, then refined it, came up with the precision pickup, basically two-string pickups wired in series so that it's got this great big beefy sound. Then the jazz bass, which is extremely different.
Yeah.
And then the Music Man Stingray. I mean, my God, that is the sound of 70s funk right there.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
That is the sound of 70s funk.
And finally, you know, the last design was the G&L basses. Were it not for him, you know, we might be holding down the low end in rock bands with a tuba.
You had an opportunity to see Leo's.
I brought this book right here. This book was put out in 1995. I bought it the moment that it came out. I was so heavily studying theory, bass guitar, jazz, the real book, all this other stuff. In this book, they show something that Leo Fender did. He basically put a neck and a bridge on a great big rectangular piece of wood.
Yep.
And he used that to screw pickups in and move them along and find the best place. And I got to see that.
There it is. There it is. My God, this thing is just the stuff of legends. I've seen pictures in books. That is amazing. Leo Fender's way that he decided where the pickups sounded the best on a bass guitar. I cannot believe I'm in the same room as this thing. That's just amazing.
To both David and John McLaren, I'm so grateful that they let me go in and take a look. You know, John actually, both John and David were like, hey, you want to sit in his chair in front of the desk and get a picture? And I was like, are you sure? Is that okay? Oh, yes. No, by all means, please do. You know, it's not often when you're in your 50s that something just puts the wonder of a child into you. But I mean, for me, that was a real big deal.
All I can say is that we hold this particular podcast very special.
Yeah.
Because it is about Leo Fender. We got to really think about what we say here because this guy's iconic. And I know you're going to be showing some pictures of stills that we have of him.
Yeah.
And also some video of where he had his last office, which is locked up all the time. But you were able to go there. And I just like to say that your video is going to look exactly like I remember when I visited Mr. Fender in his shop. He was behind his house. Everything was very meticulous, and all his tools, hand tools, and everything he used, very meticulous. I noticed in your video, it isn't quite as meticulous, but it'll give you an idea.
The thing that I want to point out here, too, just to show how much reverence, you know, everybody really holds Leo in, is that as I was sitting there looking, I'd commented on the fact that G&L actually took out an ad showing a picture of Leo's workshop after he had passed saying that they had left it exactly the way that he left it the last day that he walked out. I asked them if it was still there, still like that. They said, yes, it is. I went in and there was such a layer of dust. And I said, boy, you weren't kidding. You have not touched this. And John said, I was thinking about getting a feather duster.
I was thinking about using a feather duster. What do you think?
But is this kind of sacred Leo Fender dust? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know that it'd be right to clean it up.
Yeah.
It up, and I said, man, something to the effect of, I'm glad I don't have to make that decision because there's a big part of me that feels like this is extremely sacred Leo Fender dust.
Well, absolutely. Walk through that door and that's it. I can't say that Mr. Fender was a real good friend of mine. He knew me and I knew him. And I don't want to mislead people to believe that. Everybody's got to respect what he did.
Yeah, and in fact, I think we should close this out with some Leo stuff. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the footage of Leo Fender's last workshop.
Certainly, there's a lot of folklore around Leo Fender.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that he never, ever, ever imagined he would become like the icon that he is.
No.
You know?
I don't think so. I mean, really, Eddie, he was pretty a simple guy,
Yeah.
and but his mind was going all the time. He'd appear and everything as a simple guy, you know. And if you ask him about stuff, hiccups or whatever, he'd say, well, I did this for this reason.
Yeah.
But like Phyllis Fender, she'd say, you know, we'd be on cruises.
Right.
And of course, they'd sit at the captain's table.
Sure.
Everything. And but Leo would be not listening to conversations; he would be drawing.